Hello there. Hello there. What's going on, everyone? We are going to be talking about some Star Wars Legion today out of Ministravaganza. I've already did a wrap-up video, but I definitely wanted to talk a little bit more with all of you. So what we're going to do for the beginning of all of this is to talk a little bit about everything that happened. I want to get some back and forth from you guys. I also want you guys to share this out, since I had talked a little bit about doing these, but it's always difficult for me to get a well, it's not always difficult, but it's often difficult for me to get a specific time frame kind of done. So of course, if you're not watching this live, you will be able to watch this later on and through other places and stuff like that. But yeah, it's also more difficult for me to share this on Facebook too, since they don't always have the same stuff. And we didn't get the thumbnail right in this one too either. So let me change that over. Why is it still saying full of surprises? It's not supposed to say full of surprises. So if you checked out the wrong thumbnail for this one, we're going to change that over. So all right, let me. I'm going to pause this. I'll be right back. But we're going to do Legion. We're going to go over everything, and so we're going to do back and forth. All right, hello there again. We had a little technical difficulty, so restarting and kicking things off again a little bit. Hopefully, you guys are still with us. We are going to talk about all things Star Wars Legion from Ministravaganza. We've got a lot of little fun things to talk about, plus the return of potential return of Mini Crab. So that is always something that a lot of people have recently been asking for some strange reason. But be sure to share the stream out, and I wonder if the thumbnail is still showing up as the old full of surprises one. Every once in a while, like the cached thumbnail that is on certain websites will kind of divert back to like the old previous thumbnail. So but I don't want to worry too much about that. But yeah, so we're going to talk Star Wars Legion today. I'm going to kick things off. We're going to be talking about the Mandalorian. I think he's one of the most interesting things, since especially considering like how much the Rebels are getting. He's going to be a really good potential extra Mandalorian for the Rebels. So I think that's a pretty cool thing. So we're going to talk a little bit about Mando, and we'll run through a lot of the different spoilers and cards and things that were shown. I want to get your take on it. I think Mandalorian Din Djarin himself is a little different, right? Maybe the most different Mandalorian we've seen. And yeah, so I think that's pretty interesting. If you guys didn't check out any of the live streams from this weekend, those giveaways are still live on Discord, so make sure you head over in to the Discord. Plus, we are still giving away a lightsaber. Make sure you are subscribed and leave a comment on this or one of my videos. So it's that's a good thing to think about. So what's going on, everybody in chat? We're talking Legion today. Justin wants to know what my favorite faction is. I tend to play Empire the most, but I think the Rebels are my favorite faction. I just don't play them as much because a lot of times, like when I play my buddy Sean, he ends up being Rebels a lot of the time. So Rebels are always at the table. So a Rebel on Rebel mirror match is certainly something we've done, but I think Rebels have just so much fun. Right now, it's probably Black Sun, though. I'm almost finished with my Black Sun. Well, at least with the 3 units of Black Sun I have. I want to do some more, but I don't want all the pikes and stuff. I wish somebody would trade me pikes for Black Sun, because I would love to get rid of a couple more. What's going on, Brianna? We've got a lot of folks in chat hanging out right now. We are talking Star Wars Legion. We're going to be talking about the Mandalorian. And I actually, the question I want to ask you guys is, where do you run him? Because when we look at him, and we're going to look at some of his cards, and we're going to look at Grogu and all of that. But I mean, do you think he is, because he can run in the Empire or in the Rebels? Do you think he is better suited to the Empire, or do you think he's better suited to the Rebels? Because I certainly have my thoughts. I have thoughts on a lot of things about him and his kit. There's some things that I love. There's some things that I really don't like, or at least I'm not sold on just yet. you want to trade your pikes, or you want pikes? I want to get rid of some of my pikes, maybe all of my pikes, and I just want more Black Sun units. I want to be able to potentially run like 6 Black Sun in a Shadow Collective unit. I think that'd be really fun. Although it's taken me this long to get Black Sun painted, I think it would take me like another 3 months to get the rest of the Black Sun painted. But no, I really like I like the look of the Black Sun. Well, if you're in Orlando, you do it. I don't want to do stuff by mail. That seems like it's a little crazy. So, but yeah. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about Din Djarin. So he's got Arsenal 2. Now he only has 1 ranged weapon, so a lot of times he's not going to use Arsenal 2. Now his ranged weapon is only range 2, so he wants to be in close range. He can use Arsenal 2 if he's in melee, because his pistol has long shot 1 and versatile. So, or versatile being the real main weapon you want to, the main keyword you want to talk about, because he's got he's going to be able to use Arsenal 2 if he's in melee. He can stab somebody and then shoot out, and that's what versatile will let you do. So I think that's cool. There's a lot of advantages to get him into melee, because he gets to, it's the only way you're getting 2 attacks out of him with just the base card. Obviously, there are other weapons you can give him. So, but yeah, so he's definitely got that. But Rebel tag team with Rebel Boba or IG-11 nanny programming. Yeah, I think that really will work with him. But then again, IG-11 can also go Imperial. And I know they said that Grogu is going to only be Rebel, but it doesn't look like that right now. So it's hard to know, because sometimes there are mistakes, sometimes there are typos, and we got plenty of them. Recently, we've gotten a lot of typos. We've seen a lot of like the swoop bikes are being like shipped with like the wrong defensive surge thing that's on there. Gar Saxon got shipped without one of his cards. And one of the X-wing cards had a couple of typos on it, and sometimes they fix them or whatever. But sometimes I always wonder if something's really if something's really a typo, or if they said it and they meant it, and then the card just doesn't reflect that. Chandler, what's going on? Yeah, this Legion stuff does look really cool. It's nice to see them putting a lot of effort into Legion. Of course, it would be great if the same effort were also put into X-wing and Armada, but at least Legion is a pretty solid game, and it's getting a lot of love from AMG right now. That's for sure. So Legion players can feel pretty good. So he also has Bounty. I think Bounty is one of the things that makes him so enticing to Rebel players, because Rebel players didn't have a Bounty Hunter before, whereas Empire had access to multiple Bounty Hunters. He actually makes the 3rd potential Bounty Hunter for Empire, and then we have 4, potentially 4 more. You got droids coming out, right? So that is that's definitely a thing. He has Impervious and Red Defense Die and Surge for Defense. So again, really tough to kill him. He has 3 Courage too, and that's one of the things you need to think about with Beskar wearers or any Mandalorian. When you have Impervious and you have Red Defense Dice and Defensive Surge, you're going to get shot a lot, and you're not going to be taking damage from it. So that suppression is going to stack up, and so some of the Mandos that have only Courage 2 do have to think about panicking. So Din Djarin with Courage 3 is much less likely to panic. So I like that. Brianna says he looks OP. He might be. I think the thing that makes him a little bit less OP is the shorter range. He's not as long a range threat as other Mandalorians are. Now with 5 health, he can still be brought down. If you focus fire him, it's definitely can happen. He can have a bad roll, and then every wound on him is, with only 5 wounds. Yeah, he could definitely be brought down pretty quickly, though. I think that's one of the reasons why maybe some players will want to bring Grogu with him. But we'll talk about Grogu more here in a minute. But for 105 points, yeah, no, he looks good for 105 points. Now, the problem is you're going to want to bring more stuff, right? You're definitely going to want to bring more stuff. But if you don't bring anything else, he's a speed 2 guy that doesn't have jump, that has to get into melee. Okay, well, a lot of Jedi can do that, but he's only rolling 2 black dice in melee, and that's really, really weak. So I think you could run him just completely naked as he is right now, and he's going to be a real annoyance. He may not kill that much stuff, but he's going to get an annoyance. Now, if you don't give him any order tokens, he's going to get an aim and a dodge. And he's got tactical, so that he's going to have probably 2 aims a turn. Now, he doesn't get charge. He doesn't get relentless or steady, right? So he's going to have to like move and engage, tie up somebody, maybe a Jedi, maybe a core unit, maybe an objective or an objective holder, and then he'll can attack and shoot. Somebody else is going to have to be kind of close. He can spend one of those aims to increase the with long shots, increase the range. So he could shoot out to range 3 potentially, even when in melee, and that can be pretty nice. Or he can spend one of those aims on lethal, whether it be on the pistol or on his vibro knife. So you know what? 2 black dice with lethal can actually be really nice. You can almost guarantee 1 damage per turn, especially since you have Surge to crit on there. Even if you're going up against somebody with armor, like if he's fighting a dark trooper, like, which would be both thematic and pretty cool because they probably come out in the same wave. You think he's definitely getting bumped up points wise? That's definitely possible. What are your thoughts on the rifle? We're going to take a look at the rifle here in just a little bit. But yeah, he does look pretty strong on his own, even if you run him without any upgrades. I think the intent was that people would run him with a lot of upgrades. I'm not sure you need many upgrades, especially if you want to run him up close and personal. Now, the 2 training upgrades, there's going to be some good training upgrades. You might not need many. With Courage 3, you might not need to, take a training upgrade that takes suppression off of you each turn. You may not need to get extra aim tokens because you've got Tactical 1 already permanently built into you. So, I may not run too many training upgrades. You also have 2 equipment, you also have a weapon, and you also have comms. So there's a lot of different options that you can do with that. Somebody brought up, since he has command cards, and he'll be issuing orders to himself, if you perhaps wanted those command cards to issue orders to him, and then you could potentially put like a comms relay on him so that he still plays the command card, gets the order, gives it to somebody else, so then he still gets to do independent aim and dodge 1. Because giving him an order is a bad thing, because he loses 2 tokens that way. All right, so that's an interesting thing. Legionary is saying, thoughts on if Mando and the IGs will make it into the Shadow Collective? I don't believe so. The battle forces, like the 501st and the Shadow Collective, are largely thematic and cinematic based. So if it doesn't make sense on the shows or in the movies, then it probably won't happen. So I don't really see that happening. The only exception to that is the Separatist invasion, since that one was kind of based on the Battle of Naboo, but like needed a little bit more, I think. They decided to put Grievous in there and the Magna Guards, but outside of that, it's it's pretty much all very thematic stuff that you see. So. He thinks you think the Shadow Collective will get more love, especially when they release another battle force for Mercs. Shadow Collective may certainly get more love. I mean, it looks like the swoops are going to be able to be run in Shadow Collective, so that's definitely possible. I would go so far as to say perhaps even some new, if we get new pikes in Black Sun, then they may be runnable in the Shadow Collective. Shadow Collective could definitely get more things. I believe Savage Opress, when Savage Opress comes out, yes, he will definitely be a Shadow Collective potential. So I think, yeah, there's definitely potential for more Shadow Collective. I just don't think you're going to get a whole lot more, because also some of the stuff you get could totally go into a Dathomir battle force, like Maul and Savage Opress and Asajj Ventress, which we'll be talking about later. I want to look at some more of Din Djarin stuff, because I don't want to spend all night talking about Din Djarin, because he's super cool. But this Amban rifle has a lot of people. A lot of people are really curious about the Amban rifle. And before we get too far, let me remind you guys that Mini Crab has returned. So I've seen him around here somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly where he's going to show up. So anyway, let's talk about the Amban rifle. What do you think, Mini Crab? Yeah, so that's for those of you who haven't caught a double critical in a long time, this is something we used to have. All right, let me turn you off. All right. That's Mini Crab. He doesn't come out very often, but over the weekend, a lot of people asked about Mini Crab. So Mini Crab is back. So Din's Amban rifle. Let's talk a little bit about the Amban. I just lost half of my viewers. You're like, no, this is terrible. I'm done. No, the Amban rifle is interesting because you look at it and you're like, oh, there's a big long range sniper rifle, right? Yeah, but it's not. It's a melee weapon, but it is also a sniper rifle. So when you look at the weapon itself, it is effectively its tech as a melee weapon that has some cool immobilize and suppressive that costs 10 points, that has a built-in special effect, and the special effect is the sniper shot, but it's not an attack. So yes, the action symbol there are 2 action symbols. You have to spend 2 actions to do this bottom half, and so usually that's going to be your whole activation. Not necessarily all the time, because like let's say you are suppressed and then you lose an action, then you can't do that. If you get a bonus action from somebody, like Palpatine does pulling the strings on Din Djarin, he can't do that because he only gets 1 action, and then actually in his case it has to be an attack or move, right? If he were with Yoda, but he can't be with Yoda, so let's not talk about that. But that would still only be 1 action anyway. So, but yeah, so if he has 2 actions, then now if he ever were to get like 3 actions, then potentially he could do 1 action and then do this. So it doesn't always have to be your entire activation. For example, you can also still do free actions if you're running like the supply drop condition. You can always like, hey, before I decide what I'm going to do, let me do a free action and look at these supplies. Ooh, I got Bacta. I want to do that. So you can definitely do things like that. So the board gamer says a like for Mini Crab. What a welcome, Mini Crab. Yeah, I got a couple of you guys. Cancel this guy. I want a Mini Crab channel. Yeah, right. That's funny stuff. All right, so no, I think the Amban rifle is. I don't like it because I know I'm going to have to play against it at some point. Look, for 10 points, I think it's going to work really well as a melee weapon on Din. That means he's going to have 5 dice in melee, and that's going to work really well with what he wants to do. He's going to have 5 dice, lethal 1, and he already gets an aim for anyway. So he's going to have 5 dice, pierce 1, and with immobilize and suppressive. So he's going to really be able to go down there and shut people down, lock people down. Immobilize is nasty. Immobilize is especially nasty. Shadow Scout, do you think he'll get the Darksaber as an upgrade or the Beskar Spear? So no to the Darksaber. They have specifically said that this is Din Djarin specifically from, or mostly from Mandalorian Season 1. In this version of him, he will not have the Darksaber. Because even throughout most of Season 2, he doesn't have the Darksaber, right? They did, however, yes to Beskar Spear, they did add a Beskar Spear to him. You will see one of those in the box. It has not been spoiled yet, so we don't know anything about it, really. I'm hoping it's good. I'm hoping it's even better than the Amban rifle. I imagine it will probably have Pierce, and maybe it gives you immune to Pierce if you're using it in melee, something like that. That seems reasonable. Like it could go toe-to-toe against a Jedi, something like that. Because similar types of weapons have that. Like the Emperor's Royal Guard has similar weapons. I think it should function a little bit like that. It should be a little bit like a lightsaber in some ways. It could even have impact. I think it should have at least impact 1, Yeah, impact. And it might have something to counteract Beskar because of there's some line that the armorer says to him about, oh, you could kill other Mandalorians with this. But I think that line may have come out because that was in the book of Boba Fett when that was said, and that may have been a little bit too late. Like the card may have already been designed before that was said. So we'll see. I want to talk about the Amban rifle before I get too far off. It's if you roll a hit or a crit with it, they just take a wound and gain a suppression. Like there's no attack roll. There's no way to counter this. There's no defense against it other than being out of line of sight. So I think this is something you might want to put on Din if he's going to be by himself a lot. You want him sniping and just guaranteeing that he can kill 1 unit. And there are a couple of really, really good uses for this. One is if you do have bounty on someone, you can put, you can attack. Like let's say you're running Rebels and you have Leia out there, and I put a bounty on Leia, and I'm running Din Djarin. Maybe I'll have everybody attack Leia, and once she starts to get kind of low, I now know that I can kill her and collect the bounty with this Amban rifle. There's almost nothing that she can do other than completely hide, totally beyond line of sight. And while on some maps it's very easy to do that, like I like to build my maps pretty thick, there are other maps that it's much more difficult to do that. And so, yeah, but it's not only good. So, Nickelback is pro. You just wanted me to say that name, didn't you? It's okay. That's okay. I have listened to a few Nickelback songs in my day. But anyway, I know Din's Amban rifle. It's not only good for taking out heroes. It can be good for taking out strike teams. Let's see. Choose an enemy unit and in line of sight. Right? It's good for just getting that damage. By the way, it says enemy unit and in line of sight, so that can put a damage on an ATST. This can start to take down, like, if I have your tank, and your tank is one shot away from its resilience, I can just be like, boom. You know. Granted, there's a chance I'm not going to roll a hit or a crit because I could roll a blank or a surge, but you have a really good chance. You have a really good chance of running that down. Or I should say a pretty good chance of getting that done. So yeah. So I think it's good at a lot of things like that. Another thing is certain units that are just really, really hard. Even if you're not trying to finish off a hero, look at somebody like Emperor Palpatine, who every single wound that he's got is another potential like game-breaking attack, right? So every wound you're able to put on Palpatine completely reduces his effectiveness. So if you're going up against an Emperor Palpatine, like, you want to start taking shots on him with this every single round. And then the only defense against this is medics. Now, a lot of times Palpatine will have some medics, but a lot of times Palpatine runs with Royal Guards to protect him because he's got entourage for the Royal Guards, and he's got, ways to make sure that he doesn't even have to roll defense dice. But there's no defense against this. That's rough. That's going to be really, really rough. So yeah, that's interesting. We also saw later on in the stream, not in the first day, but later on during Ministravaganza, we got some more things for Din. This is not the weapon upgrade. This is an equipment upgrade that happens to also be a weapon, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool because it's built into him, right? So I like this. It's the flame projector. It's melee or ranged one. It's a red die with blast. I like this. I like this a lot. This is a great upgrade for him because of the fact that, dude, let's go back. He's got Arsenal too. So he still also gets to shoot somebody else, right? Now, the flamethrower doesn't have versatile. So if you are in melee, you're not going to be able to also shoot somebody at range 1. So there is that to keep in mind. But if you go into melee with a B1 battle droid unit, like, oh yeah, game on. That's going to do really, really well. This is less good against a single target, but it's still blast, spray, and suppressive, so it's still very nice. I don't think you necessarily need to take this with the Amban rifle, because I think the Amban rifle is more for if you're going to stay farther away. I mean, it has its close range use also, but this is definitely for close range Din Djarin. I think a lot of builds will run this. Just having this flamethrower is great. If only Boba Fett got to run this every single round, right? Well, maybe he will. Who knows? And Boba's got more stuff coming too. And then this jetpack. Now, this jetpack turns the Mando's jetpack turns Din Djarin into a full Mandalorian because now he's got jump, and it also makes him speed 3. So he gets jump 2, he gets +1 speed. Now all of a sudden he's got that crazy mobility that really is going to help him get into move, jump over things, and then shoot the flamethrower or do something crazy. And then this is going to be a really nice one, but it's 15 points. So again, Mando's got a lot of expensive stuff. So I'm curious what you guys think of like Mando and the equipment that we've seen so far. Nickelback says, so Royal Guards don't work with the rifle. They do not. Big Ben says, I remember Din just slaughtering Jawas in season 1. Yeah, he did a lot of that. That was pretty awesome. That was a really cool really cool scene. I had a blast with it. Like, I need to watch Mandalorian again. Like it was it was a really good show, right? The jetpack. You think the jetpack is auto include? I think it could be. It is expensive. I don't think any 15-point upgrade is ever an auto include for me. I think that's expensive enough to say, can I run this dude without it? Because look, he's 105 points. Rebels already have the Rebels really like cheap heroes. That's one of the Rebel strengths, and he does work without any help, right? Arsenal 2 works if he was going to get into melee. He doesn't need another item. He doesn't need another weapon. Bounty works automatically, obviously. Impervious works great. Independent aim 1 and dodge 1 works great. Tactical 1 works well. He's gonna have 2 aims if he moves, to power up his knife and his pistol. He's got all the tools. He's already self-sufficient, so he doesn't really need anything else. Doesn't really need it. It's not. I mean, if he had charge, then I think the jetpack would be more crucial. Now, granted, we haven't seen every single command card that comes in this expansion, so it is possible. But I mean, a speed 2 no jump is still good. It's still good. It's what a lot of units have, especially if you're running him. If you're running a vehicle or transport, he'd be really good in a speeder. If he's coming out of a land speeder, that would make up for a lack of speed if you're trying to run him real simple and quick. Because he's a single mini. He could drive in, and certainly he certainly drives in plenty of speeders and stuff before he gets the jetpack, right? So that could work. You could do. I think he'd be great in a land speeder, or just make him fast. See how that goes. All right, so let's go past Mando a little bit. We do have command cards to talk about. We got some command cards to talk about. Whistling Birds. This is the best command card I've seen in a long time, even though it does cost an action. This thing is insanely good, and another reason why at 105 points he's already really, really good. But yeah. Let's see. Nickel says if you're just talking snipe and that's your plan, then no backpack unless it's an option for the objective grabs. Yeah, if you're trying to run him as a sniper, you definitely take the Amban sniper rifle. Maybe not much else. I mean, if you've got 15 points ish left over, then sure. But I usually don't. I often don't, but this is a card that makes you want to maybe think about having that backpack, and it's much better, I think, if you do have the backpack. Whistling Birds is insane. So it's a 3 pip. It only issues an order to Din, and again, this is a time where you might consider, putting one of those comm relay, so he can still get the free aim and dodge and all that other stuff. But this is one where he's going to try and move in right into the middle of a whole bunch of other enemy dudes and light them up. It's an action, though. And that's an important thing. A lot of people forget this is an action, so you can't move twice and trigger Whistling Birds. You've got to, unless of course you are Imperial Din and maybe Palpatine, you play this card, and then Palpatine says, you know what, you pull the strings, and then Din gets a free move early, and then he's in a better position to make Whistling Birds work. I think this is an argument for Imperial Din Djarin. I think it's an argument. That'd be really fun. But yeah, he's going to gain the Whistling Birds attack or the action, which is it's an action. Choose up to 3 enemy units at range 1 and in line of sight. For each chosen unit, for each chosen mini in that unit, they're going to suffer a wound for each ink rolled on a white die. So it's a 3 out of 8 chance. So basically every single miniature at range 1 of you, enemy miniature, has a 3 1/8 chance of taking a damage. So that's a pretty nasty attack. And it doesn't do suppression to them, though. So there is that. But this is it's kind of like when Sabine comes in and throws her bombs. I think it's kind of roughly equivalent to that. But this is a really cool, but this one can just, and there's no defense, there's no blocking against this either. There is a die roll, but you could just take out everybody, if you rolled well enough. My white dice sometimes do well enough too, especially because it has the surge symbol on there. So I really, really like this. This is, yeah, he might be worth 105 points just for this card alone, right? Brianna says, I love running Iden, but it's hard to see where she's going to be a better choice. Well, you could always run Iden with Din. Yeah, I really like Iden as well. I like her a lot. And she has unlike the Din Djarin, has a good counterpart, which is a good segue into Grogu, who is very cute and thematic and adorable. And of course, we love baby Grogu, but I don't want him on my tabletop. I mean, maybe as like a set piece or something like that. But I think he's at 17 points. I would struggle to take him even if he were free. I think I probably would take him, but I would still have second thoughts about it. But Grogu here, this guy he's just trouble. He is absolutely the Frog Slayer. Chris Squad, Iden is the best commander for Empire. That's a bold statement. She's good. She's very good, and she's definitely in the discussion for best commander. But I mean, it's tough to beat Darth Vader, especially after the fairly recent Commander Vader erratas. You know, that's definitely something. So all right, so Grogu starts out. He's got 1 health. He's a counterpart for Din Djarin, and so. Yeah, so this basically effectively create that Din Djarin's now a unit of 2, or a clan of 2, but he's small, so you can't really attack. He doesn't like factor into cover, so really it's just like he has to be placed, but he's not really like a miniature almost. He is a mini, but he's kind of not, because he can't be targeted. He can't it doesn't count as like a number of minis in this unit when determining cover and things like that. Almost like he's stealth or incognito, or like not really there. He's only there like thematically, very much like Iden's little droid. So he has the. Let's talk about the latent power first. I'm going to talk about what he does for you first. So at the end of your activation, you can gain a suppression token. So, or he does something bad for you right away. Well, potentially bad. The suppression token can be nice. So roll a red defense die, and on a surge, which is only 1 of those, all right, you can choose an enemy unit at range 1 of this mini, and then they can gain 2 suppression tokens and 2 immobilized tokens. So that's really good. If but you only have a 1 in 6 chance. So which means, on average, you may do this once per game. 6 turns in the game, but you probably won't do it once per game because the odds are a little bit against you, because the first round you don't get to roll, because you're probably not going to have an enemy unit at range 1 of you on the first round. You might not even have it on the second round. Again, you got to move. You have to move. Movement to contact is something that has to happen. So the odds are that you probably won't get that off. When you need it. Now, what's slightly more likely is that if you roll a blank, which there's 2 of those on the red die, then you can remove a wound or a poison token from a friendly non-droid unit at range 1 of this mini. A lot of times that might be Din Djarin himself, because you are always range 1 and you're friendly to yourself. But he could, if Din is full, then he can heal somebody else. So that's like this. That's the better thing, or the thing that's more likely. It's maybe not the better thing, although it's situationally it could be. But if you roll a block, which is the other 3 sides of the red die, it does nothing. So, but all of that, to do that effect, is going to cost you a suppression, which might be good, could be problematic. Again, don't forget, you have Beskar armor, you could be shot lots of times, and you might risk losing an action, which means no Amban rifle, or which means potentially no whistling birds if you have to move, right, to do things like that. But yeah, so that's a thing. Now, but that's what he does that's good for you. So what does he do that's bad for you? He can potentially lose you the game. If he is defeated, which means either the whole unit is defeated or you've got only 1 health left in the unit, and that's on Din Djarin, right? And that's when, of course, you can make him die sooner if you wanted to. With Counterpart, you have a little more flexibility on where the wounds go. But when he is defeated, you replace his mini with an unclaimed asset objective token. And he may never be restored. So you can't ever heal him to bring him back. Once he's killed the first time, he's done. And then each trooper gains the ability to claim him, like to pick up the corpse or whatever. And at the end of the it's kind of sick. It's like his DNA, like the little midi chlor. Well, I guess we'll say he's not. He's just knocked out. Like he's winded. He's a little pooped and he's having a little baby nap, right? But he's dead. It's the little Yoda corpse they want the DNA from. So like then everybody's got to race for his corpse, and then at the end of the game, if an enemy unit has it, then they gain a victory token. But if you have it, you gain nothing. So here's why I don't like this. Din Djarin's a melee character. He is now. If you're playing him as a sniper, then he's probably never going to have anybody at range to even do the latent power to. He's probably not going to take a sniper with Beskar armor and 5 health is not going to die, right? If you're keeping him away from everybody, that's just not going to happen. He's very high risk. Yes. Brianna says he's too high risk. Absolutely. Justin says, I think that Din fumbles the football. Yeah, right. Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, it's Big Ben says Grogu is hiding in his pod thing at that point. Yeah, that's probably a good thing. A normal Legion game is too chaotic to be risking that. Yeah, sometimes they are. Now, I'll caveat all of this with it's still thematic, right? This is kind of what you would expect if Grogu actually were brought into a battlefield. It would be a little bit chaotic, and it would be a little bit random, and it would definitely be a liability. And Din doesn't want to have a liability when he's trying to fight, right? And so I like that it's thematic, and I think that it's cool that they're making thematic things. So while I don't think I would want to run Grogu, I'm actually very, very pleased with how he looks and how he feels and everything like that, because I do think it's important that people be able to play games and have fun, because maybe you just want to recreate that scene. And that's cool, man. That can be fun. And maybe I'll even take him one day when I'm just playing a fun game, and I'll just run Grogu. And not every game, not every build, and not everything you bring to the table has to be competitive. Sometimes you can just do a fun build, and I certainly do a lot of those in my battle reports. Because it could be fun. So if that sounds like something that you might have fun with once in a while, then run Grogu. But I don't think he's all that great with just his card. Now, there's a little more to this story, because we do learn one other thing. But before I get into that, I want to finish my criticism on claim the asset and how it's a liability. So if you're running sniper, version of Din Djarin, you don't really need this power, because his latent power will almost never really matter. You won't have enemy units close enough to you to hit with suppression and immobilize, and you won't have healthy units near enough to you to heal, right? Unless you're running a whole bunch of snipers. I don't know. Yeah, maybe a whole bunch of snipers, maybe. But again, it's only going to go off maybe once a game for the heal. Well, no. The heal might be more times than that. The heal will probably be two times a game, probably at least. So we'll see. But the other thing is, if you're running Mando in melee in close range format, which I think is the majority of ways that people will run Mando, because don't forget he has whistling birds. You gotta run whistling bird. You gotta get up close and personal. The jetpack allows him to get up close and personal a little bit easier. The flame projector wants to get into melee. The Amban rifle's good in melee. He's got the melee Arsenal 2 stuff. He wants to be in melee, right? He only has a range 2 weapon. I mean, it's got long shots, so it can go range 3, but he's designed for close range. He's a skirmisher, right? He's kind of like the Mandalorian's kind of Jedi kind of answer. Like he wants to be up close and personal, although, well, I guess so is Sabine. He'd be really cool with Sabine in the same list. Thematically, I don't know how, but yeah, so, if he's up close and personal and he dies, he's going to drop that. The enemy's going to be right there. So it's very, very big risk to bring Grogu, because Grogu is only useful on a melee Mandalorian, a close range Mandalorian. That's when Grogu would actually be useful and you get the most out of it. But that's also when you're going to lose the game, because you're going to die, your opponent's going to pick up that claim the asset token, and it's going to be over. Now, if you don't mind losing for something that's thematic, then cool. But that definitely could happen, and it's very, very risky to bring him. So one more thing we learned is that Grogu does have a command card that you can discard when you're attacked. When somebody's attacking you, you can be like, you can just drop this card. You gain two dodge tokens, and you gain deflect, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. And so like and you discard that from your command hand. So I'm like, okay, so that's a little bit more. Now there could be more advantages to bring Grogu than just a card like that. Because that still doesn't help you when it's concentrated fire. And I'm sorry, like if you come in, if you start attacking my army with Din Djarin and he's got Grogu, I'm taking everything. I'm taking 100% of my force. We're trying to kill Din Djarin and do nothing else. Because if I get that baby, that's probably the game. Because a lot of objective tokens, or a lot of games and objectives, are like 2-2, and a lot of times you're fighting over the one that's going to be the thing that turns the game. Well, and if I've got that, there's my extra one. So at least I can tie, and I can force, and I've just killed your guy, so maybe I have the up on points, So yeah, that's going to be interesting. Steven says, Operative Luke, Force Barrier, Din, and Grogu. Okay, that could be a thing. That could be a thing. Maybe Grogu healing Operative Luke. Operative Luke Force Barriering Din. That could be fun. I like. There's a lot of fun things to play around with. So those are just my initial impressions and my initial thoughts on Grogu. I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I'm wrong. A lot of times things look different when you look at them, like we're doing now, and then they look very, very different once you're playing with them. Once they're on your table, and then you've seen different interactions that you didn't anticipate, or maybe something that you didn't weigh heavily enough. You're like, oh, you know what? That ability to heal is so much better because now XYZ. Those things. Sometimes those situations arise. So that's kind of cool. Speaking of other things that were announced, let's also talk about IG-88. We got the IGs to talk about. 110 points also. Another Merc. Only Empire this time, so I don't have to ask you which faction you're bringing IG-88 in. IG-88 looks awesome, though. 110 points. Red defense die. Armor 1. So, but no search for defense. But still, the Armor 1's good help, especially if you can have him with cover. All right, now he is a droid trooper, so he's not going to get that cover from suppression. But if you can have him behind barricades, then he's going to have a good, he's going to be able to cancel 3 hits, that are coming in every time, and then red defense dice on top of that. So he can be pretty tough to kill. Arsenal 2, again, we've seen Arsenal already. This guy can work well in melee if he has to, but since he's got 2 different ranged weapons, he's already set to go. Range 3 and range 4. If you're firing both of those, that is 6 dice, 3 black, 3 white. Surge to crit. Very nice. Very good offense. Now, he's not going to get any built-in aim tokens here. And so that's going to be a problem. He also doesn't get any free attacks from his base card. He does have Bounty. He does have Impervious. And does have Sharpshooter 1. That's a Sharpshooter is more important now than it used to be, too, because they kind of, changed low profile a little bit. So Sharpshooter 1 is good. Sharpshooter 2 is really good. But those are good things now. What's going on, everybody in chat? If you guys are just joining us, we're talking about all of the stuff from Ministravaganza related to Star Wars Legion. We just talked about Din Djarin and Grogu, and we're going through the IGs now. Oh, geez, we're talking about the IGs. But yes, IG-88 the robot in chat. What's going on, IG-88 the robot? He says, "Don't need defense if everyone's dead before they can react." Oh man, that's good. We should try that in robot voice. Don't need defense if everyone's dead before they can react. I think that's probably how IG-88's voice would sound. I think so. All right. So he has training, he has comms, and he has equipment. He's got a decent melee attack. He's got 1 of each, so he's 3 dice in melee is nice. Now, and again, he kind of has the same thing that Din has. If he is in melee, Arsenal 2 is still going to be good because he's got that versatile weapon at range 1 to 3. By the way, his other one is range 1 to 4, but that one's not versatile, but it's still pretty cool. 5 health, 2 courage, pretty standard. The rest of his stats. He's an operative. He can only go in the Empire currently. I have a feeling, since he's a merc, we will eventually see, I think we'll get like a whole bounty hunters Like, there's got to be a way. I'm sure they're going to do this at some point, because now that we've got Dengar, Boba Fett, and IG-88, we need... I'm sorry, we don't have Dengar. We've got Bosk. I'm sure we'll get Dengar sooner or later. But then we've got Bosk, IG-88, and Boba Fett. I'm sure we're going to get Dengar, Zuckuss, and Forlom and have some kind of, like, bounty hunter showdown, right? Like that. Well, even if we don't, you can always just do it. Like, you can just do it. You can homebrew it. Like, I did this one time, and I've talked about it a number of times, where I just ran 800 points of, heroes versus villains. We just picked any unique hero, we grouped all the light side factions together and the dark side factions together, and just said, build your dream team. And just played, like, on a 3x3, like in skirmish format. It's fun. That's a really fun way to play. So you could always just do it, even if it's not an official thing. Although that'd be a really fun one. So IG-88 looks good. IG-11, a little different. IG-11 is a big difference here is he's got Gunslinger, which is, not, I guess it's not that much of a big difference. But his biggest difference is that he's programmed. And then also that he can go Rebels or Empire. So, which is interesting. But he's not a bounty hunter. He doesn't have bounty, right? IG-88 has bounty. IG-11, not so much. Not so much. So, very interesting. Better melee attack on IG-11, too, by the way. 4 red dice. Really like that. But we're losing the Surge to crit. He's only got Surge to hit. Still Sharpshooter 1. Still Impervious. Armor 1 still. Gunslinger versus Arsenal. It's kind of like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think IG-11's a little better. You've got Pierce over here. You've got range 4. Gunslinger is going to be real nice. You still have Pierce over here, but you have range 4 here too. But if you do, your 2 attacks that you'd get with IG-88 are going to be Arsenal 2. So you have to do 1 range 3 and 1 range 4. And here with Gunslinger, you could still do a range 3 and a range 4, but you could do 2 range 3s with Pierce on each of them if you want, or 2 range 4s. Yeah, I feel like you have a little more flexibility with IG-11, but you can't put all the damage into one target, and then so IG-88 works better as a bounty hunter, and IG-11 works a little bit more just kind of as a warrior, just like I just want to see bodies litter the battlefield, kind of that kind of thing. Dino Knight says, what about Queel as an alternative counterpart for IG-11? That's a cool idea. That could work. We were talking about counterparts because we're going to be looking at some of the cards that come with these guys in a little bit, and there is a counterpart-related card. So, Nick says, bounty programming for Imperial Sign? That might be. They said it was going to be more pretty aggressive, kind of like a murdery kind of more aggressive. It might be a self-destruct thing, because it was definitely something he had, and he doesn't have self-destruct built in. So since he is, it's either going to be nanny programming, or here it is, there's nanny programming. We're going to be either this or a more aggressive one. It could totally be self-destruct, or could just be like murder bot programming where he's just going crazy. I don't know. I also wonder if it's going to be an IG-11 specific programming, or if it's going to be a general programming, because the Dark Troopers that we're going to look at later have a programming slot, but they don't have programmed, so they don't have to take a program, which is interesting. So nanny programming gives him counterpart IG-11, gives Grogu counterpart IG-11, and then gives IG-11 AI dodge and move. Now, I don't know why you'd really want to take Grogu with this dude, because he's going to be a little bit more ranged focus. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. Like Grogu's stuff to bring Grogu, he's going to have that close range stuff. I got to see if Grogu has anything else that you can play besides that one command card that you're discarding. So I while this is thematic and maybe fun, I don't think this is good. I don't think you want to bring Grogu. However, the card isn't terrible, because since we haven't seen the other programming card, it's possible the other programming card could have a high point cost. This one costs 0. So what you could do, if you're running IG-11 and you want to keep him cheap, you just take the nanny programming card, which costs 0 and gives you AI, dodge, or move. That's not the best AI commands that are out there, but they're not bad. AI move is fine. A lot of times you'll, especially with Gunslinger, you could just move and shoot twice. So that's an interesting thing to think about. He's not bad. He's not bad. We've got Boba Fett. So yes, Boba. This is one that AMG is very proud of. They were important to tell us that that this was the first thing that has been designed completely, in-house from start to finish, which makes me think that maybe IG was started under FFG, and Din Djarin was maybe started under FFG, and Boba Fett is, the first one that started after the transition, which is pretty interesting. So Boba Fett's got 120 points on him. He's Rebel only, so he's good guy now. So I like, I like where they're going with this. I like that Rebels are getting some love. This does, although at this point when we were in Ministravaganza, this had a lot of Clone Wars players saying like, dude, are we gonna get some stuff? And I get that. So Boba's getting 2 training, 2 equipment. He has jump 1, speed 2, so a little slower. All right, we're seeing like these little slightly slower Mandos, right? But Boba Fett's old. He's old, the old and wise. I like this. I wasn't sure what his subtitle was going to be because every time they were talking about him, they were saying, and here we have Boba Fett, Daimyo of Mos Espa, or whatever. And I was thinking like, or Daimyo of Mos Eisley. And I'm thinking to myself like, wait a second, you're not, if this was based on, and this is definitely based on Boba Fett as he appeared in Mando season 2, not the Book of Boba Fett, because they started working on this, for Mando season 2 and before Book of Boba Fett came out. So they definitely indicated that there could be more Boba Fetts. Boba Fett, where? Hey Big Boss says, you're forgetting that IG-11 can only take nanny programming when he's with Rebels. It says Rebels only. You are correct. He can only take this when he's on the Rebels, so if you wanted to run him Imperial, you would have to run a different programming. That's true. That is a very good point. I will point out, though, let's go back to Rebel only. They said that Grogu was going to be Rebel only. So if Din Djarin goes for the Empire, but the card that they showed us doesn't say Rebel only, and it should probably have like up here, there should be a Rebel symbol. So maybe there will be on the final version of the card. That's an interesting thing. All right, so Boba's got jump 1, speed 2. He does have that red defense die. He's impervious. He's got surge to crit. He's got surge for blocking. He's got 4 dice for melee, 3 dice for range 1 to 3. So overall, not bad. But he's 120 points. Is a little on the slightly more expensive side. He's also got Arsenal 2. A lot of Arsenal 2, which is cool. Now, Arsenal 2 won't be that great on him at face value. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. He has Independent Standby. Amazing. And he also has Sentinel, with that standbys are now range 3. Independent Standby is like one of the most broken keywords I've ever seen. That's like, he's going to start every single round with a standby. Unreal. Well, I say every single round. If he's issuing himself an order through one of his command cards, then he won't get that standby. And it seems as though he does not have a comms slot, so he's not going to be able to do a comms relay. So how often is that independent standby really going to happen? It all depends on who you pair him with. If you are trying to run, and that's a really interesting thing. So he has Sentinel, he has Tactical 1 and Sharpshooter. So Sharpshooter 1. So his ranged attack is only those 3 dice. Now, we don't know all of the cards that he's going to be getting. We don't know all of the new weapons and things like that, but they certainly indicated that he'd be getting some weapon options, which, like, maybe he gets a flamethrower, maybe he gets the knee rocket. I'm guessing he gets the knee rockets, things like that. He's got things like this, right? He's got command cards that give him he's got his 2 pip. We'll talk about the command cards here in a second. But it's also worth it noting that you can play the original Boba's command cards with him. So if you play, that flamethrower command card, then he does have that flamethrower and this weapon. So, Arsenal 2 will actually matter. on those turns. So he's going to be good for the old Boba's command cards, but the new Boba command cards are a little different. So 2 training is good. 2 equipment might be good, because usually equipment is where those Mandalorian gadgets like the shields and the whipcord launchers and all of that stuff tends to fit. So again, we'll have to wait until we get closer to his release to see more of those things. Surge for defense, good. Surge for crit, good. His surges are all in the right spots. 3 courage is very good. 5 health, a little slim, but that's okay. He's got enough defense and things like that to make all this work. Yeah, so the thing that's so weird about this is independent standby. Like, it seems like it's a really good ability, but if you're taking 6 command cards with him, you will never use that. So independent standby, the greatest ability in the world that you're not going to be able to use. So maybe the trick is to take Boba Fett with like a Luke Skywalker or something like that, for somebody that like he can just support someone else, and then you don't take his command cards, and maybe you take all of his command cards and you run them with Imperial Boba Fett, because that might end up being, well, that might be the trick, right? Because I don't know. I mean, I play all factions, so I have Imperial Boba Fett already. I wonder how many people don't. So first, we'll talk off with Simple Man. It says, Mama told me when I was young. Wait, no, that's not what it says. Wrong Simple Man. It says, if Boba Fett is not issued an order with this card, Boba Fett gains Marksman. This round, he gains an aim token and increases the range of his ranged weapons by 1 to a maximum of 5. If Boba Fett is issued an order with this card, if he is issued an order with this card, at the start of the activation phase, units at a unit at range 1 of Boba Fett may perform a speed 1 move. Now, the way they showed it to us, this is cut off a little bit. It's not Bob Fett, by the way, even though it says Bob Fett. It's not Robert Fettuccini. It's Boba. So yeah, like it's interesting that it's like, and by the way, all of these are a little different, right? Rule with Respect is actually issuing orders to other units. His 2-pip, which is, guys, this this swirly attack, this Grievous is kind of 1-pip type of attack. That one is issuing him an order. But what makes this one a really good card for him is that it's 1 unit. It doesn't have to issue Boba Fett an order. He can issue the order to somebody else. He still gets a 1-pip. He still gains things from the card and still gets his independent standby. So I think out of all of the cards, this is the best one for the new Boba Fett. This one might be a little bit less perfect for Imperial Boba Fett, but this one's perfect for Rebel Boba Fett, I think. Yeah, I think that's it. Logic Clust says, I wish there was this much X-Wing news. Yeah. Or, Brianna says, or Armada news. I would be a little overwhelmed if there was this much Armada news. The cool thing is, I think they've liked the feedback on rapid reinforcements, and so the direction that they're going with some of the X-Wing Armada stuff right now, which is to give us instead of giving us new ships, giving us new ways to play the ships that we have. It's at least something, and I think it's a good holdover. It's something good to keep us going until such time that new things get made, and hopefully that happens. I'm always going to be pushing for that. Please make new ships, and and that would be fun. That'd be fun. All right, so Simple Man looks good. I like the card. I'm curious what you guys think. What do you guys think of these 3 cards? We'll go through all 3 of them. I want to hear what you guys think. If you like which one of them is your favorite. And then the other question I have is, which is going to be the preferred way to play Boba Fett? Somebody tell me what Glup Shido is. Like, I see it all the time right now, and I have no idea. And I should have Googled it, but I just don't think about it that much. I don't really care that much, but like, it's in chat, and I know it's a Star Wars thing, because I was about to be like, oh, that's profanity in chat, but like, no, I know I think it's like a character or some kind of goofy Star Wars meme. But I have no idea. And maybe I have to lose some geek credential for that. But that's just one that I missed. Every once in a while, you miss a meme, and you just don't get it. Maybe that's just a sign of getting older. I miss memes from once in a while. But let's go to the 2-pip here. Making his way in the galaxy. I like how it's got I'm just a simple man making his way in the galaxy. It's like, it kind of works out. He's the most powerful character in the universe. He pulled more strings than Palp could have ever hoped to. Well, that's not really helping me. I'll have to look it up myself. But yes, let's talk about this making his way. So this one basically is Grievous's 1-pip, right? Boba Fett may not perform attack actions during his activation. At the end of his activation, Boba Fett may perform an attack with only the following weapon against each enemy unit range 1 and in line of sight. So this one's very similar to how Whistling Birds works. It doesn't cost an action, however, so this one's a little more flexible in that you still get to do this, but it is an attack. It's not like you're just rolling dice, but again, it's 2 red and a black, and it's blast, and it's impact 1, and it's versatile. So even if you're in melee, it's still going to work, which is good. Also, it's going to, since he's attacking with it, he's going to have surge to crit on this particular attack since he is performing the attack. I think that's a pretty cool thing. Does he have? And he has Sharpshooter 1. And so if he's doing the ranged one, like the reach, the spin, he's still going to get to apply Sharpshooter 1 to that attack. Even though it's kind of like it looks like he's using the Gaddafi stick, right? The gaffy stick, but it's really him just going full Boba Fett. Like it's like his whole onslaught. The gaffy stick for those that can hit, the knee rockets for those that can hit, and all of this other stuff. It doesn't say the name of the weapon that he's attacking, so he's just using the 2-pip. But yeah, I like the card. I think it's going to be good on all versions of Boba Fett. It's not. This one is probably better on Imperial Boba Fett though, because Imperial Boba Fett has speed 3. And so he can get into position. He can get into the ideal position much easier, right? And then you have Rule with Respect, which is a whole new way to run Boba. But yes, he's a joke. Yeah, I know the Globe Shadow's a joke. I'm just trying to think of how many names there are in the series typically sound. Oh, okay. That's funny. He doesn't get Sharpshooter. The card has Blast. Yeah, however, Sharpshooter is still important to have in the attack pool because of it's always important that he technically he still has Sharpshooter. It just, for most attacks, it wouldn't do anything. Let me go back here. Because while the attack does have Blast, if other mechanics were to relate to it, like there may be a character that's immune to the Blast keyword, right? Like, for example, if they come up with was the guy from the High Republic, the Vintian, the Rock, right? He always has heavy cover regardless, right? Then then Sharpshooter would still work or something like that. So it's important to think about things like that. Also, since Sharpshooter also counteracts, it does more than just cover. It also counteracts that the low profile keyword, right? So I think with Blast. Anyway, but just in case there was an interaction that trumped one but not the other, they're both there. It's the same reason why why Sabine, when she's using the Darksaber, has immune to Pierce, but she also has Impervious, right? And things like that, because sometimes one will get trumped, but the other one won't, or something like that. But yeah. So will you paint Boba in the banged up version or the newly painted? I'll probably go with the slightly banged up version because they definitely hinted that this isn't the last version of Boba. I feel like there'll probably be a Book of Boba Fett version at some point. They might want to wait until they can see if there's a Book of Boba Fett season 2, and then, I don't know. I think if they get in the habit of trying to create a new version, every season, they're going to run out of Mandos to make. We're going to have 18 Mandos. You need the Mando from Book of Boba Fett, and then Mando season 3, and then Mando season 4, and then Mando from Kenobi season 2, or whatever. Every Disney Plus, the joke now is every time a Disney Plus series isn't doing well, Mando's going to show up and kind of take over two episodes. Boba on a Rancor, yes, I want that, absolutely. Look at that dad bod in his 3-pip, yes. Hell yeah! Respect for the dad bod. No, this is an interesting card. I like it. I just don't think it feels like a Boba Fett card, right? So it's a 3-pip. He's issuing an order to himself and 2 other units, which again means he's not, if he's Rebel Boba, he's not getting his free standby. Well, Boba has a face-up order token. Friendly units at range 1 and in line of sight of him, making ranged attack, add 1 black dice to their attack pool. So if I'm running this guy with Vader, Boba and Vader in the Empire, and he plays this, and Vader does saber throw, Vader gets an extra black attack die, right? I mean, like, I really want to do that now. Granted, you could also do that with Luke, with Jedi Luke, if you're running him Rebels, because Luke already gets 4 black dice, so Luke would get a 5th black die, but usually Jedi Luke isn't run with saber throw. Vader usually is run with saber throw. What's the release date for Boba? I think Boba's like end of this year. I don't have that release date off the top of my head. I don't know that one. Do you think we'll get the show version of Kenobi? I do, but I think it's going to be a while. I think you're looking at the earliest, we get a vague spoiler for it next Ministravaganza, like mid to late next year. I think that's, I think it's probably gonna be 2024 before we get like the Disney Plus, old man Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ben Kenobi. I definitely wanted Rebel Ben Kenobi, though. I have wanted a Rebel Ben Kenobi forever. And the thing is, I'm kind of at a toss-up, because as much as I want Ewan McGregor, I also want, I want Alec Guinness Ben Kenobi as well, right? And so, like, I hope when they do a Ben Kenobi that it is, like, that it respects both characters, right? That's what I want to see. I want to see, a card or 2 from, like, I definitely want, we already have a Hello There card, but I love, like, the Crate Dragon Howl thing that Ben Kenobi does. I'd love the distraction that he creates, where when he's like, fighting Vader to let everybody else get away. Like, I feel like that aspect could be huge in Legion. Like, I'm going to take this 200-point Jedi, or whatever, but he's going to make the sacrifice play where, like, the entire enemy force has to attack him until he's dead, and then nobody can attack anybody else. So then you just run off with the objectives, and he plays that turn 6, and then you win the game because of it. Like, that's that's a really cool way to run a Ben Kenobi for the Rebels. But then again, you've got stuff, and I don't want to spoil Kenobi season 1 or the Kenobi Disney Plus series too much, because I don't know who's seen it yet. Hopefully you guys have seen it already. If you haven't had time to see it yet, I hope you get to watch it soon, because I really enjoyed it. I really did. But there's definitely some stuff from the Kenobi show that I would love to see in reflected in Legion, But yes, definitely hoping for that, as well as a lot of other stuff from the Kenobi show. There's a lot of other characters and Inquisitors too. I really want Inquisitors, but I think Rule with Respect is a good card. So what's the consensus here? I want to know, you guys, what do you think? Where we take these cards, we're gonna now have 6 Boba Fett cards. Now, all of the Imperial Boba Fett cards are also you can run all 6 on either version of Boba, but the Imperial Boba Fett cards, I don't know if they're as good on Rebel Boba Fett, because the Imperial ones all give him some other kind of weapon, and then he would therefore lose independent standby because they all activate him. That's interesting. So who do you think's the winner? All right, we take all these command cards out. Like, what's the better version of Boba right now? My thought right now is that, like, if you're gonna run somebody else, then maybe this version of Boba is going to be good for the Rebels. Like, if you're running Luke, or maybe even Sabine, that could be fun. And you've got some people to support, then that's cool. But overall, I think the Imperial version of Boba, considering he just got a buff, might be better. By the way, this is not a bounty hunter, right? Got a lot of new Rebels. I think we're going to get a lot more new Rebels. And I know I was one of those big advocates for, like, hey, let's get all these Jedi for the Clone Wars, and let's get all these other Jedi characters. But I think most of the stuff we're going to be getting in the near future is going to be very Rebel and Empire focused. And so it's a good thing that they have so many Jedi in their pocket. Like, Mace Windu could come out with any wave, Savage Opress could come out with any wave, and stuff. So, like, while they're taking all these Disney Plus things and kind of releasing those, it's good that there's a lot of Clone Wars era content to come out, within these waves to kind of keep things fairly simple. Peter says Imp Boba. Yeah. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. Dirge. Oh yeah, that was from the Tartakovsky. I don't know if they're going to do a whole lot of Tartakovsky stuff. I don't know if they're going to do that. They seem to be having a pretty heavy focus on the things that are new, the things that are most recognizable. Those are going to probably draw the most people in. Boba Fett's going to always have a lot of draw. You always see it when you see people walking by and looking. I see it when I'm at the game store and I see people walking by and they see something cool, whether you're playing with something cool or they're walking past the shelves and they see something cool on the shelf. And if you've got some obscure character like Reese or something like that, it's not going to draw as many eyes as like a Darth Vader or a Boba Fett will. So those big name characters are always good. Let's see. Let's go past these cards. Let's talk about the Dark Troopers. We got Moff Gideon and the Dark Troopers both teased. I want to go forward a little bit. Look at these guys. They're incredible. They're just so beautiful looking, and they're a heavy unit. What is that? And we've got Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, making our third official Darksaber sculpt into Star Wars Legion. Mando also is a potential Darksaber wielder eventually, but he's not currently right now. This version of Mando that we're getting will not be using the Darksaber, but Moff Gideon will be. And so that is quite interesting. Nickelbacks, I'm buying 2 Dark Troopers auto buy. Yeah, I feel like that's probably something that's going to happen. I want to see all their point costs. It may not be feasible to run 2 Dark Troopers, right? It may not be. But let's talk about this unit. This unit is insane. We did not get a Moff Gideon unit. We do know that there's going to be an Imperial Remnant battle force. We do know that, so that's exciting. They have armor. They're plotting. Plotting. We. How many of you guys remember when the eWebs had plotting? How many of you guys were playing? How many of my viewers have played since plotting first came out? And it was one of the most yuckiest keywords in the game. Nick says, you think contingency, is that for Moff Gideon? You think Moff Gideon will have contingencies since he's like ISB, like Callus? He might. I could see Moff Gideon potentially being somebody who has contingencies. I don't know if it plays well into his character perfectly or not, but I think it plays well into his character. It's going to boil down to how many, like, a lot of times you want to give characters new things rather than just different combinations of keywords, but sometimes it's just different combinations of keywords, and we've seen a lot of that with the characters that they've already done. So he certainly could have contingencies. I feel like contingencies was so unique, though, that if you give Gideon contingencies, you might never take Callus again. Like, I'll be honest with you, Callus is one of those few characters I've gotten that I've never run. I've never once run him. While I do like the character himself, I just don't think there's anything in Legion that says I need to bring Callus, because other characters are always more desirable for me. And so I think if the only thing to make me bring him is if I see, here's a situation where I really want contingencies, okay, let me bring Callus. So if you give somebody else contingencies, I think you just put the nail in the coffin on Callus. So I kind of hope he doesn't have contingencies now that I think about it. I hope they give him something different. But yeah, I mean, Gideon, obviously, if he's going to have the Darksaber, I imagine it will probably be an equipment because he doesn't always use it. So it'll be an optional thing. But I do see him being a little bit like a Krennic or a somewhere between a Krennic and a Callus. Something in there, I don't expect him to have cunning, although he certainly, there's nothing to say he wasn't cunning, but he wasn't really known. He was more known for being ruthless, right? He was very, I think that's a way to put it. Very efficient and goal-oriented. So, but yeah, these guys are nuts. The Dark Troopers are nuts. So 95 points to start, which is kind of cheap for a heavy. They're going to get way more expensive. There's a lot of limits on these guys, though. But let's talk about what makes them unstoppable. First off, they've got red defense dice and armor. So, you know, they're not going to be easy to get wounds on. And they have 2 health each. So even if you get a wound, you're not taking a mini down. 3 minis. So start off with 6 health for 95 points. They're also unstoppable. They can activate twice. Unbelievable. Everyone I know is mostly psyched for Dark Troopers. Yeah, I'm the same way. I think they were, up until the final day, this was the biggest surprise, the biggest wow factor of the con for me. Because of so many reasons. First off, it's a super cool unit. Super cool unit. They had cool. They had like their own theme song. They were like the death metal, you know, rock and roller, you know, bat out of hell kind of, you know, Imperial new unit, like super awesome. And so the theme and the look and everything is great. The paint jobs, the art, and all that stuff. Well, the art here on this preview card is a little low res. Like I feel like it was taken from a bigger picture, not cropped well enough. But still, I can't wait to see all the rest of the armor or the art that comes with them. But they also have some things to think about. That's but I mean they're heavy. That's troopers, and that's crazy. But they're plotting, so they can only move once during their activation. Now they can move outside of their activation. Like if Palpatine does pulling the strings, they can still move. Then if they take a standby, then they still can move that way and things like that. But yes, so that's a thing to think about. Unconcerned, they can't benefit from cover, and miniatures in this unit cannot be repaired or restored. So, you know, they're not playing defensively, and they're just a kill, seek and destroy kind of unit. But like their upgrades, they have 2 heavies and a personnel, so they're going to be able to add a 4th Dark Trooper at cost, and then 2 more. So you can effectively have 12 health in this one unit. What's that going to cost you? I have a feeling it's going to be close to 200 points if you put everything on here. That's what I think it's going to happen. JM, what's going on? We got a super chat from JM. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate the super chat. That definitely helps keep the channel going, and it is very much appreciated. JM says, the man, the myth, the legend. When are we going to get another Legion battle report? I have another Legion battle report that is going to be coming out at some point next week. It's up already right now for patrons. And that's one of the things that patrons at the A-Wing level or above get, is early access to battle reports when they come out. We haven't been... we're doing some international travel, and so I haven't been going out and seeing people and stuff. We're trying to quarantine and be real safe before we go travel, so we don't want to risk getting sick and not being able to travel, or maybe potentially contaminating people and things like that. So we've been trying to be real safe lately. But after all the travel is done, I will be lining up some more games. I have been painting my Black Sun dudes because I want to get I want to get some more battle reports with some brand new stuff. But the next battle report is one where I'll be using Anakin and some not a 501st unit, but using the infantry support platform, trying to make that work. So that's a little tease for you. But yeah, so I have a feeling, between 2 heavies, well, honestly, adding the 2 heavies and an extra personnel is going to make this unit better than the base unit. Like better than 2 of these guys. So I think if you fully upgrade this unit, you're looking at probably 230 points. I'm going to guess about 230 points fully loaded. Because look, if it was just 3 personnel, then that would double the minis in the unit and double the health of the unit, and then double all the damage and stuff in the unit. And so that would be like, 95 points, right? So it's got to be more than another 95 points, because the heavies, in addition to like just the personnel, which just adds 1, right, would still have the same weapon options, but have new weapon options. And we already know that there's a range 2 that rolls two red and a black, and then there's a range 3 option that rolls a 4 black with critical 1, and then the 2 red and the black has like all the blast and impact and things like that keywords on it. So like they have much better weapons on the heavies. Those heavies are probably going to be like close to 50 points each. All right, I imagine your heavies are probably going to be like 40 and 50 points. And there's also a melee heavy option. Let me go back up to here. This dude, right, with the Myrtleizer, the melee option, he's there. And by the way, their melee is strong. Their melee is stronger than the basic their basic ranged attack. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 regular dudes, 3 heavy options, and so you're going to run probably everything but 1 in a standard build. They're going to be insane. And so I don't know if it's going to be really feasible to run 2 Dark Trooper units, because I think if you max out 2 Dark Trooper units, that's half your list. That's 400, maybe 450, maybe 500 points to run 2, because they also have a programming slot, and we don't know what kind of programming they're going to have or what that's going to cost either. So that could be crazy. Could be crazy cool. Could be very crazy cool. I mean, you might be able to make it work. I don't know if it's going to be something that you'll really want to do very much. I think most people will probably just want to run 1 Dark Trooper unit. Maybe you run 2 naked Imperial Dark Trooper units. Like, I think Imperial Dark Troopers are also going to be something you run. Maybe not fully loaded. Maybe you just put 1 heavy on there. Maybe you do, because points. They're going to be crazy expensive. Crazy expensive. So yeah, this is wild. This is going to be one of the most wild units I've ever seen in the game, and I love it. I love everything about them. I'll even love facing them because it'll have that sense of doom, and I'll be there for it. So yeah, I'm crazy about this unit. Crazy about this unit. It looks great. I just want to see more. My only complaint is they didn't show me more, so I'll just have to wait until we see everything. Then you have something I want. This is a Moff Gideon card that is going to move Dark Troopers around. What if Gideon gets Entourage Dark Troopers? Oh my gosh. What if he does? How ludicrous would that be? Because that means you could run 3 Dark Troopers. Now, obviously, if you do that, you're not going to have any points for any corps, so you'd have to rely on... What if the Imperial Remnant Battle Force allows you to run Gideon and 3 Dark Troopers, and that's it? Like, what if you're allowed to do that without any Stormtroopers? Like, wouldn't that would be too different from a game of Legion. But that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Yes, good to see Double Critical back. Double Critical is back. Also is back is Mini Crab. He has made a return to the double crit, and we're I don't know why we did these things, but we're doing weird things like that. But yes. Anyways, you have something I want is nice because it does let some Dark Troopers kind of jump up and kind of replant themselves somewhere else on the map. Which can be fun. Which can be really fun. I guess we'll have to wait and see how great of a card it is, and see what else comes in with the Imperial Remnant. Because presumably you'll be able to use Stormtroopers. Presumably you'll be able to use E-Webs. They might do the new E-Web, like that special one that was, in the show. I also expect to see, like, Inferno Troopers, right? The big flamey guy. I want to see all of those things, I definitely want to see that all that good stuff. And then Moff Gideon looks good. I don't know exactly what to expect from him. He's obviously going to have some melee. I think he will. I think he's going to be the commanding type that can melee, that probably doesn't want to, but he can. I don't know. I don't know what kind of liberties he's going to take. When I think about him in Legion, is like you shouldn't be meleeing, dude. You should be behind your dudes, commanding them. I hope he's not good with the Darksaber. I hope he gets like 4 dice with it or something like that, and maybe some cool keywords or whatever. But hopefully he's there to do okay with the Darksaber, but not great. Like, I hope he's not better with it than Sabine, but he could be. I suppose you could probably say he's on par with Sabine. He probably had it for a long time. I don't know. Let's see. Hopefully Lucasfilm gave them some good guidance, because I feel like there's a lot we don't know about Moff Gideon yet. And I hope that the way that he's been made will at least somewhat reflect what we can expect from Moff Gideon in Mando season 3. And sometimes they can get like those hints and stuff from Lucasfilm, so we'll have to see. I mean, there's certainly a lot of that we do know about Gideon, but I'd love to know more. So that's exciting to me. And then those guys, they look so crazy. They talked about Ewoks a little bit. So how many of you guys, let me know in chat if you're excited about Ewoks. They're going to be coming next year. They're on display at Star Wars Celebration. We'll probably get a little more information at Gen Con. And so that'll be fun. I will be at Gen Con in about a week and a half, in about 2 weeks. In about 2 weeks I'll be heading out to Gen Con, and that'll be always a fun time. I'm looking forward to it. I am definitely looking forward to it. I gotta try and get some more event tickets, because I want to do the new Armada event that they're gonna have out there, which means I probably have to bring an Armada list and maybe even play a game of Armada at Gen Con, which would be kind of cool. Maybe that'll happen. I know we did had an invite from another channel to do a cross collab thing out there, so maybe that'll happen. What are you doing, Hera? My dog needs to go out. You need to go out. You have to wait a little bit. Okay, I'll wrap up. All right, I'll finish up soon. Hera needs to go out. All right. You want to say hi? Come here. You gonna come up? No, you're not gonna do it. She's not gonna do it. Okay. What are you doing? All right, let's go ahead and talk about this. So, not a whole lot of new information about the Ewoks than stuff that I've already talked about. But in case you're not familiar, they're going to be a battle force. They'll also be rebel mercs, so they can go with the rebels, or they can go in their own battle force. And they're going to have trappers. They're going to be able to build traps. They're not going to be very good against armor, but they will have an expensive option, which will be Chewbacca in the ATST. That sounds really, really fun. Empire is also getting another battle force. I wrote down the name of this. I'm going to try to see if I can find. If you remember what they said, you can let me know in the head. See if you beat me to it. But the Empire is getting some Omicron Force or something, some kind of Imperial sounding name. But yeah. Oh no. I'm trying to go through my notes and I can't read it. Tempest Force. Thank you, Ron Stokes. Appreciate that. And Nick. We got a line. Now they're all coming in. Yes. The Imperial Remnant. The Imperial Remnant. Yes, Empire is also getting Imperial Remnant. I feel like Battle Forces is something they're going to be doing a lot more of. If you look at the direction they're going with X-Wing and Armada right now, and that is, hey, here's some new rules where you can use the same stuff you've already got in a different way. That gets more people to buy maybe extra copies of the same stuff, or gets more new people to go back and buy old stock. Battle Forces is another way for them to do that. Maybe they'll say, hey, how'd you like to run 3 ATSTs? Well, here's a battle force that can run 3 ATSTs. Things like that. So Empire and Tempest Force, they're going to have a new Imperial pilot for ATST to kind of be there, because Chewbacca, the Rebels are going to be able to use an ATST with Chewbacca inside. So that's also pretty cool. Will he count as a field commander? Eli Wintercross asks. I don't know. I feel like probably not. While he did have some influence over the Ewoks, I don't think he was really commanding the Force. I don't really see that being a thing that happens. But I mean, I could be wrong. But yeah, so that's really interesting. Let's see, what else do we got here? I had some notes because we're going to start talking about Ahsoka here in a minute. Do we have any other Ewok comments? Maybe if all Ewoks are core. Yeah, I'm actually hoping that we get a way to mix Ewoks and Wookiees. That would be a fun one. If Ewoks are core, they still won't. If they're mercs, they're not going to fulfill the Rebel core requirement. So I don't know I wonder if you could bring Wookiees into an Ewok battle force, and would that do it? That could be a cool thing to do. I don't know. It would be fun. I don't know exactly where it fits in the thematics of everything, but I think that'd be a fun way to do. How do you combat an incognito ATST? Well, you got to get within range 1 of it, right? And so, yeah, Chewbacca's ATST will have incognito. They talked about that. That sounds fun, but But as soon as he shoots, it's, like, hey, the longer he wants to stay incognito, your opponent's going to be fine with it, because then, like, hey, that means you're not shooting me. Good. Yeah. Do you think it's easier for X-Wing to cover all the different ships than it is for Legion to cover all the other characters? Yeah, right now, yeah. X-Wing had its work cut out for it at the beginning because you had the EU, which was now Legends. You had a ton of stuff, but now in canon, there's less ships that are fully canonized at this point. And with Disney Plus, you're also getting like new boots on the ground kind of characters, like every couple of months, and you're getting a whole slew of characters every month. So you're not getting that many new starships and starfighters anymore. So yeah, I think Legion's got more of a difficult time trying to get everything caught up. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, Armada has by far the easiest time covering all the canon ships, because out of capital ships, there are the fewest. So that is definitely a thing. The Rata Nasp should get a rebel version. Oh, yeah, maybe. Maybe it will. I don't know. We haven't seen anything on Kashyyyk, really, so in a long time. So maybe if we do it, wouldn't surprise me if they do a Kashyyyk Disney Plus series or something like that. That'd be fun. Let's talk about Ahsoka. Big spoilers. It wasn't just Ahsoka. It was also Asajj Ventress. But let's talk about Ahsoka first. A lot of Republic players are upset that they're not getting Ahsoka first. So I want to talk about that a little bit, because I definitely would say it feels like Republic hasn't been getting much lately. I feel like Republic is, ever since the clone nerfs, Republic has been in a bad spot. I feel like the 501st is the weakest battle force. I think it's like I'm not really blown away with many of the battle forces. I think I kind of like the Imperial and Rebel ones a little bit better than the droid and the and the 501st. So I don't really want to run the droid one. I really don't want to run the 501st one. I'm okay with running the Blizzard Force one, because I think you're already using units that are all good already, and I'm okay with running the Echo-based defenders, because you're looking at a lot of units that are already good already, and so plus the command cards give you some good things, especially Echo-based defenders when you're giving out all those standby tokens. That's crazy good. So I feel like they're not as balanced. I feel the Clone Wars battle forces are kind of lousy, and so they had crazy good clone nerfs. They haven't seen much new stuff come out. You had a few things, but like a lot of the stuff that has come out, like what are some of the more recent things that came out? Like Wookiees are good, but that was also a Rebel thing. Yoda was definitely good, but that was still a while ago. And so many other classes have all this new stuff coming out, or races do. I think definitely Republic players wanted Ahsoka. Maybe she would have made the 501st less bad as well. In Fat Boy, it says it's super weird not to get Gar Ahsoka first. I get that. Now, as a big fan of Star Wars Rebels, I'm overjoyed that they're doing Fulcrum Ahsoka. This was the number one version of Ahsoka that I wanted to see. This is my favorite version of Ahsoka. And that's not to say that the other ones are bad. This one was just my favorite. I really, really, really loved Star Wars Rebels. And at the time when I first saw Clone Wars, I was only kind of okay with it. My first watch through on Clone Wars, I watched at work. We used to be able to watch stuff while I was working. So I was always like doing half and half. Like I would be, I'd be working on something and I'd have it on in the background. So I was never really giving it 100%. So, so like with Rebels, I would sit down each like Wednesday night or whatever it was, like turn off all the lights, turn up the volume, and watch Star Wars Rebels, and then immediately afterwards go onto YouTube and watch Andy Gutierrez do Rebels Recon, and talk to Pablo Hidalgo and ask him some questions about it, and like I loved Star Wars Rebels, and so when she showed up in there, I was just like whoa, and she was great in it as well. And not that she was not great in Clone Wars. It just, maybe for whatever reason, just Rebels meant more to me. So I'm a big fan of this, and I'm also gonna say, the Rebel faction needed another Jedi. Pretty bad. Pretty bad. Now, there's other characters they could have gone with first for them, like Kanan and Ezra, and I think that's one of the main criticisms is that we didn't get Kanan or Ezra for the Rebels first. I do think that they will be coming. But I'm very pleased to see this version of Ahsoka. Again, it would have probably made more sense to get Gar first, but it is what it is, right? And she looks great. The mini actually doesn't the idea of the sculpt looks great. The actual miniature itself is just a resin master, so it's not like it's kind of rough, right? Like the sabers were kind of bendy. If we zoom in real close, you can see a lot of imperfections and stuff like that because there's like chipping and stuff like that. Like they probably just got this one straight, and like went straight, with usually resins, you don't want to clean them up too much and stuff like that, or be too rough with them because they can break super, super easy. So I imagine they're like, you know what, like we have to put this on stream, so let's be ultra careful with it. Just leave it, don't take that toothbrush to it and start, because you can easily snap off an arm or something like that, and then it doesn't ever glue back on quite the same way again. That's why one reason I kind of hate resin miniatures, because they're super, super delicate. And you have to be really, really careful with them. But she's going to be cool. Asajj Ventress looks awesome. This mini actually looks better to me than the Ahsoka one does because it's really captured that Asajj from the movie and the first season of Clone Wars, like that early assassin, like that pure evil Asajj before you began to realize that she was conflicted, before you came to realize that she also had feelings, and she was then betrayed, and her character arc really started like getting deeper and deeper, and before you really got to know Asajj, this was your first glimpse of Asajj Ventress, and she was just terrible. She was terrible. She was frightening, and she was efficient, and she caused a lot of problems. But they really captured that look here, and she looks great. So I'm pretty pleased. Now I used these two images, the black and white ones, because Will Schick was trying to be really delicate with the paint, and he was rushed. He only had an hour to do the streams, and so like the paint jobs weren't complete and weren't super great. And I think the minis in this case looked actually probably better, as the black and white. All right, let me get to some of your guys' comments real quick. Eli says, Ghost Crew for Rebels and hopefully Inquisitors for Empire. Absolutely. That's like been one of my most requested kind of waves for a long time. That I want more Rebel stuff, more Inquisitors, more characters from Star Wars Rebels, and I want Gungans and a Gungan battle force. I would also love a Dathomir battle force. I think that'd be really cool, especially now that we've got Asajj. The Republic needs operatives. Yes, so they did say we're going to be getting two. They certainly implied, I should say, that we'll be getting two versions of Ahsoka. Probably an operative and a commander. So I think we'll get little kid Ahsoka as an operative, and I think we'll eventually get a like teenage Ahsoka as a commander. And so I think that'll work. Maybe the subtitles will be like Commander Tano for one, and then Snips for like the little kid one, or something like that would be pretty cool. But yeah, she'll be exciting. She'll be exciting to see. And now I also here's the big question that I have for you guys, because they implied that this version of Ahsoka was not, was not from the Mandalorian. So this is very much Star Wars Rebels only version of Ahsoka. So implying that it was kind of insinuated that there could even be more, like they might do the Ahsoka series, like old mature sage Ahsoka or whatever might get her own version too. There's a lot of speculation we can do on what they meant on when they say, well, not this version or whatever. But there's definitely open to doing multiple versions of characters. But you can think about somebody who might have a lot of command cards. Ahsoka might end up having a lot of command cards. We already know that basically from what we know right now, there's basically three versions of Ahsoka confirmed. We got this one, operative for the Rebels, Fulcrum, Ahsoka. We also have two for Gar that are going to be coming, presumably Operative and Commander. Maybe not, but that would probably make the most sense. But if so, that could be like 9 command cards. And then, granted, it doesn't have to be. They could always make a version. There's no rule that says you have to have 3 command cards with every character. That's just the trend. Some characters happen to have 4. The Chewbacca with Yoda only had 1, right? So you don't have to always have exactly 3, but that's what they have done, and that's pretty cool. I just wonder, like, if they're going to allow those command cards to be cross faction, and if they do. Which I think they should. There's nothing in the command cards. I remember when I first saw like Operative Luke and Operative Vader's, thinking to myself, like, wait a second, there's none of these, like, we can, the first time you can say, wait, I can use more than 3 command cards for one person. Is that even legal? And you realize, I was looking at them, it's like, there's no faction restriction on here, which made me think about Clone Wars with Obi-Wan. If they do a Rebel Obi-Wan Kenobi, presumably Rebel Obi-Wan Kenobi would be able to take, Gar Obi-Wan Kenobi's command cards and vice versa. So that's some interesting things to think about. And now, granted, they have shown through Darth Maul that you must nominate, they can always say you must nominate Rebel Obi-Wan Kenobi or something like that. So they could do that. But it's, I think it's a cool design space, and it gives you a little bit more bang for your buck, because you buy this Ahsoka, you're potentially getting 3 command cards that you can use for Gar Ahsoka when she comes out and stuff like that. So I like that. But I think it's cool. What do we get first? Old Ben Kenobi or TV show Kenobi? I think we'll get like a merging of the two. I think we get a merging of the two. But I'm kind of wanting old Ben. I want Alec Guinness Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I think if they don't do another Kenobi series, I think there's enough to just do a single Ben Kenobi, more or less Alec Guinness style, but kind of reflecting a little bit of the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi from the show. I think you can kind of cross them over, do like something of a hybrid. I think you can do that. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to this version of Ahsoka. We do know a couple of things about these characters. They're going to be Jedi, or Force users. They both are going to have a new mastery style called Jarakai Mastery. They'll of course be dependent on dodge tokens and dodge token generation. Asajj will be more murderous and attacky, whereas Ahsoka will be more protectory and defendy. They're both going to be operatives. This Asajj Ventress will be operative for the CIS. She will not be a merc. At least they said this version. There could be other versions of Asajj Ventress as well. I do expect a Night Sister Asajj Ventress who will be a merc at some point. That makes a lot of sense. I could see her potentially being a merc that could go in CIS or Republic. I think that seems possible. But maybe not CIS, I could see her working with Republic. It's definitely a thing that it happened a few times. It definitely happened in the books. Dark Disciple. Oh my gosh. If you guys haven't read Dark Disciple, I really, really recommend it. It's a sleeper hit. It was so good, and I didn't expect it to be that good, but it was really good. I listened to it on Audible, and I loved it. Am I disappointed we didn't get a Commander Jar Jar Binks expansion? No. I am definitely looking forward to Gungans showing up, but I don't want to just get a Commander Jar Jar Binks. So I guess I'm not disappointed we didn't get one just now, but realistically, what I look forward to is I want to see all of I want to see a Gungan battle force first, and then say, and also Commander Jar Jar Binks. Like, that's what I kind of want to see, and I like that idea. Yeah, he can be introduced with it. He can be introduced after the fact. Either is fine, but I want to see, the Gungans with shields, Gungans with boomas. I want to see the Gungans riding the raptor things, and I want to see the big shield generator things, and I also want to see Boss Nass in the back. I think you've got 3 leader options for Gungans, maybe a 4 if you want to do like generic Gungans, but you got Captain Tarpos, you've got Boss Nass, and then you've got Jar Jar Binks. I mean, you could make one of those an operative. You could probably make Jar Jar Binks an operative with like an option to make him a commander, or for a turn, maybe he can be field commander or something like that. Or maybe an operative that has a field commander keyword, like that. That makes a little bit of sense potentially, because you run out of operatives for the Gungans if you don't consider making Jar Jar Binks an operative. I think he would work better in the game as an operative. He's usually just doing his own thing anyway. He was kind of clumsy. Jar Jar Commander would have a flaw card. Well, I think you'd make Jar Jar an operative and still give him the flaw card. Yeah, definitely. He might have 2 flaw cards, as a matter of fact. Wouldn't that be cool if he had more than 1 flaw card and they had different criteria and stuff like that, so your opponent can keep tripping you up? But I could see him having a dice mechanic like Grogu has, where some of the random things can happen. It'd be fun. It might not be as competitive. It might be one of those commanders you take for fun. It might be one of those units you take for a thematic experience and not to a tournament. And that's okay. I like having things that aren't competitive, but they're fun, and so they serve a purpose either way. Yeah, so let's see. I think that was most of it. A lot more battle forces coming, and they definitely hinted at that. There's going to be a lot more. You know, one thing I'm surprised that they didn't talk about, that I do expect we'll get soon, is Bad Batch content. I think the Bad Batch is due for some content. We had the Bad Batch show off in Clone Wars Season 7, and I think that was like a lot of people started making merchandise for them, even because of that, way before the Bad Batch show actually came out. Now we're getting close to Bad Batch Season 2. I have a feeling probably next Ministravaganza, maybe we'll see some Bad Batch hints. I would say maybe a 2024, early 2024 for Bad Batch, or late 2023. That's a guess. We'll see. That's my guess. I think Bad Batch will probably be coming fairly soon. And then, of course, that kind of paves the way for Clone Commandos too, doesn't it? I think it does. All right, guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up. I want to thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. This was a real fun stream. I will be doing more of these in the future. I'll be doing some for X-Wing and Armada, and maybe I'll periodically do stuff like this more to talk about the state of the games and just to wrap up on news. I've been getting a little bit away from like daily videos, we have some holiday plans, and I've got travel, and I'll be going to Gen Con and stuff like that, and it's just become harder to make daily videos out there. So I've been trying to get something out at least every other day, and I think that's been working out fairly well. I definitely have some more terrain reviews, and again, we have a Legion battle report coming up, plus more Armada ship breakdowns, and of course, lots more news for the X-Wing stuff as it gets revealed. We have a lot of content. And then, of course, Marvel Crisis Protocol, another great game we can always talk about. And then, hopefully, maybe this year we'll get a look at whatever AMG's next game is, because I keep asking. I haven't heard anything, so it's super, super secret. If it's even still coming, I don't know. I would love to. I need to find out. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for hanging out. May the Force be with you. Live long and prosper. Be excellent to each other. And party on. And so say we all. And TARDIS sound. No, that's not the TARDIS sound.